Oh, hello. Are we live? I think we are live. Are we live? Yes, we are. How are we all doing, everyone? Welcome to the official Ten HAG press conference reaction. Obviously, we play Fulham tomorrow afternoon at 12:30 in the early kickoff, and we're in a bad run of form. We've got a lot of shit going on, and we've got quotes coming out from the press conference. So what we're going to usually we do a bit of news first, and then we talk about the press conference. But because there's quite a few bits to get into in terms of quotes and stuff, we'll dive into that. And then if it's time near the end, then we'll jump into the news and the leaks coming out from the dressing room and Sir Jim Ratcliffe not being happy and blah, 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 blah. Not Sir Jim happy. You take my point. We'll dive into that. But just for the press conference for now, there's been quite a lot of quotes coming out from the man himself. So Erik Ten on character. He says, remember the fight we showed against Brentford? If there wasn't spirit of characters in this dressing room, you couldn't do this. Which I tend to agree with to a certain extent. But that you got remember that was a year ago. Mentality shift can happen. When results aren't going your way, people chop and change. And it seems like some of the players in the dressing room are starting to do that. On Andrew Onana, who says, I don't want Onana to go for long balls. I want to play from the back, but then doesn't really give clarification as to why. Well, we know why he can't do it. We just want to hear it from the horse's mouth in that regard. Like, you can't do it because you have Johnny Evans and you have Aaron Maguire who can't take the ball comfortably in possession. They're not press resistant like the Sandro are, and they're not as good on the ball as the Sandro is either. So you have to, remember last season when, we tried playing out from the back, he just switched it, went more direct because it didn't work. We've done it again, really, and then it's like, no, it's still not working. But on the back line, sticking with the theme of that, Raphael Varane is ready to play against Fulham tomorrow and will travel with the squad. Victor Lindelof is a doubt for the game due to illness, and I don't know if that means that Varane's only playing because Lindelof is ill. I know there was a bit of friction, according to reports and insiders around Manchester United, that Varane wasn't happy with Ten Hag's decision in the Manchester derby, saying that he played Evans and Maguire because of tactical reasons, which, to be honest, you can kind of ponder and question, and you think Raphael Varane's a fantastic defender in the box, aerial, unbelievable, but on the ball, he's not the best. I would say he's quite basic on the ball. So is Maguire better on the ball than Varane? That's the first question. And if so, why would that help more against the Manchester City team who will grab most of the possession anyway, if that makes sense? So tactically, they didn't really make sense to me personally. But it is what it is. He's back in the squad and hopefully starts tomorrow because we're going to need him defensively. We've been absolutely dog shit. I'm hoping Wan-Bissaka kind of starts as well. On his philosophy in the team, he says, I came here with my philosophy based on possession, but also to combine it with the DNA of United, but also with the players and their character. We combined it last year and we played very good football last season. And you can't disagree with that, and you can't disagree with the results that we were getting on the pitch either because we won a trophy and we was third. So results were positive. Certain games, the football was relatively good. He obviously lent into the characteristics of the players and their traits, what they're good at in terms of Bruno and Rashford and all these kind of guys. He tapped into them counter-attacking abilities because that's what they're good at. And they're not necessarily, not high retention players. They don't keep hold of the ball for long periods of the game. They don't, kind of feel the way into it like Pep's team. And they're different. They're more direct, and you hurt teams on the counter-attack when the space is exploited. And that turns slightly different when we had possession, and under Ole, when we played against a low block, we really struggled to break them down. Because what we would do is we would slowly advance up the pitch, and the more you do that, the more the gaps close with the 11, and the more it becomes that low block kind of thing. Whereas what Ten Hag would do, he would keep possession around the kind of midfield area or the defence, build up slowly, slow, and then bang, he would hit you directly. You saw it. I mentioned in a video the pros. Was it the pros and cons? Or I can't remember what video it was done. You saw it where on that left-hand side in the Leeds game, Sabitzer's in the middle of the pitch, Sabitzer's just kind of roaming about, and then hits it straight into Luke Shaw on the left-hand side. Luke Shaw gets a crossing, Rashford scores. That was in like 3, 4, 5 touches. So that is what we're good at. You cannot blame the manager for tapping into that. I don't blame him at all. But for some reason, whatever it is this season, it's not there. It's not there. I think injuries don't help that. But Yeah, he's also been criticised on his no style, and he says, I don't want to say that that's too strong. The intention is clear, but the execution isn't there. In the moment we're in with so many changes, we can't line up the same game each time, and we have to swap. We miss players in the back four, and every time we have to adjust, which doesn't help the routines. And I've been saying this for ages. When Manchester City had Rodri taken out of their team, yeah, they lost 3 out of 4 games. That's one player. We've had 12 players missing at one point. Are we losing just specifically because of that? No, but I think that's a big percentage, a huge percentage. When you don't have any of your back four available for a consistent run of games, that obviously is a massive, massive issue. You know, when you've got to play Evans, Maguire, fucking Amrabat at left back, and then Dalot at right back, like how your style's obviously going to be affected there, and teams are going to exploit your weaknesses. So I've always been on Ten Hag's side in that regard. I just haven't been on the player side, and I think that's been a debate that's been on the channel for a while and amongst Manchester United fans. Now, Ten Hag on the players' moods, he says they are positive. They want to put this right, and we know the standards here. We have to match them every day. We have had 2 big setbacks, but we will fight back. The dressing room is strong. The staff are strong, and this manager is strong. Obviously, speaking in third person, is that I'm not sure if the dressing room is strong. I think is judging from leaks, whether they're true or not, you don't really know, do you? But people are unhappy with the treatment of Sancho. Apparently, Maguire wasn't happy that he tried to be sold, and it's kind of affected his confidence and stuff. And then you've got other bits as well, like the training sessions are too intense, and it's having an effect on the team. Questions about pre-season and things like this. And basically what Erik Ten Hag is like, well, this is the demand. You have to meet the demands, you know. And the players like, well, look at the effect it's having on the pitch. So I think these counter arguments on both sides, to be honest with you. I'm not fully, just backing the manager blindly. I think he's made some big mistakes in terms of in-game management, in terms of some odd substitutions, and just some odd tactics at times in comparison to last season. But again, equally, these players have done it under multiple managers before, so why the fuck should you trust them as well? Do you know what I mean? On the game against Fulham, he said, I never think of such scenarios. We have to win every game. We prepare very good, and I'm sure the players are ready to tomorrow to execute the plan. I have a good squad. I'm convinced about the players in the dressing room. We saw these players last year. They can do a lot better, but that's up to me to let them play better. I have to take the responsibility. I will put every effort into getting this done. And one of the issues which he talks about as well, which I'll read out the quote in a second, is not being hard to beat. Like, if you're not scoring goals, which we're not, we saw a start with Sancho, Antony, Højlund, Rashford, Martial, Garnacho. They've all got like 3 in 20 games apart from Højlund. It's like 3 in 11. So, and assists as well. We're not scoring enough, and the attack aren't linking up. There's no chemistry there whatsoever. So that's a huge issue. And if you can't score, at least rely on what was good for us last season, which was the defense. And we can't do that because we don't have any of the first team available at all. So here lies the issues. He says, I think the players are hard to beat in this moment. Obviously, with such 2 defeats, we didn't show it, but I'm convinced in the long term, they will be hard to beat and they know how to do it. I don't think they're hard to beat. I think they are one of the easiest teams to play against at the moment. Newcastle played their B team on Wednesday night, and they just slaughtered us, absolutely slaughtered us. So I completely disagree with that. But he's not going to come out and say the defense is shit and we're leaking a load of goals. We don't know how to defend. He's never going to say that. You're always going to kind of get political answers with the manager. For anyone who doesn't know as well, Casemiro is out until January or February with a hamstring injury. So that's another injury on the cards there. Another important player out for a big chunk of the season. It's going to be a huge miss. I mean, whether that means fucking Kobe Mainoo will come into the side or not, I'm not entirely sure. It's a lot of pressure on the young kid. You've got Højlund leading the line up top. Like, there's a lot of inexperience there. And as talented as they are, you can't hang your hat on a kid who's just coming into the team. You need that growth alongside an experienced player, which is why they're talking about buying an experienced striker in January as well. So I'm not really a massive fan of that. I'd rather have him not rushed into the team and developed properly. But sometimes you're kind of desperate and you have to go for it, don't you? Just a few other bits for the news points of view. So there's been a few complaints from the players. I don't know if they're leaking it through family members or journalists or whatever it is. But apparently the comment about Casemiro for Eriksen for more football did not go down well in the dressing room. And others raised eyebrows for dropping Varane in the Manchester derby for Johnny Evans. which there's a couple of, you almost have to agree with that. Like, I think the comments about tactics was a little bit confusing. I would have liked for him to expand on the point as to why you drop him, go into a bit more specifics. Maybe the kind of TikTok creators can dive into that. I haven't seen a video on it. Could he have phrased it better? Probably, yeah. Because when I remember reading the comments after the game, I was like, "Fucking hell!" He just said that about a player who was literally your best player last season, and that's very strong words for a guy who's won 5 Champions Leagues and done more than most in the squad. To be honest with you, we've got David Pearson saying, "Do a poll which is leaking the most, the stadium roof or the changing room?" At the moment, I would probably say the changing room. To be honest with you, I don't even need to do a poll on that. The stadium is leaking. That's a pretty significant leak, but the stuff that's coming out at the moment, I mean, it's fucking coming out your eyeballs, mate. Also, just another thing coming out of the dressing room. Members of the dressing room believe the Sancho situation could have been handled differently by Erik Ten Hag. Maguire was injured by efforts to get rid of him in the summer. Players are starting to no longer trust him. Ten Hag's intensity, which was widely praised and as seen as positive last season, is now seen as a problem, and some doubt he will change his approach to try and end the run of alarming performances. This has translated into a lack of confidence in how he prepares the team to win games. Now, I mean, it has been a concern amongst fans, and I don't know about you people either, but the preseason just was confusing. We're going here, there. We went from, was it to Oslo, to Edinburgh, to America, Houston, fucking loads of other places in America, here, there, everywhere. We've come back and we've then gone to Ireland and then back to Old Trafford, and it was just like people were confused. I think even Christian Eriksen said something that's not great, having to go here, there, everywhere in pre-season. And even the pre-season wasn't promising anyway. You didn't really see a style of playing pre-season. It was a little bit mumbled and jumbled, and I know certain players weren't available, but it was odd. It was just, you knew from that pre-season, it was like something isn't right here going into the season. And then you look at the minutes that was played last season, especially with players like Bruno Fernandes, the most in Europe. Other players, like you look at the amount of injuries now, I mean, that is because of how far we went in these competitions last season, and we was pushed to the absolute maximum. And the players have hit breaking point. I think you've seen a similar situation with Liverpool. I hate comparing us to Liverpool, but the situation isolated in itself is very similar to the Liverpool one, where they pushed in all competitions, went to win the quadruple to become the best team ever, failed, and then the season after, you saw the complete capitulation that happened, the amount of injuries that they had, and then they sort of brought it back towards the end. And I think this season might go the same if they stick with Erik Ten Hag. I mean, they might not get to that point if we continue to lose games. I mean, if we lose the game tomorrow at Craven Cottage, then I don't know what you do. To be honest with you, I really, really don't know what you do. So I think there's a lot of interesting talking points going into this. Another one, we've had a bit of news around Sir Jim Ratcliffe as well. Apparently, he's going to commit 245 million from his multi-billion-pound fortune to United's aging physical infrastructure as a part of the deal. One part of that, if you're going to invest in the infrastructure, fantastic, great, bring it on. But the second part of it is 245 million. I don't think touches the fucking sides at Manchester United. I really, really don't. That's pocket change, really, for what needs to be done. I don't know what's going to happen with the stadium. I don't know what they're going to do with that. I mean, I'm sure there's been quotes that he's pledged to invest in a stadium, but where the fuck's the money coming from? Where's the money going? The money that you spend, well, whatever it was to get that 25% of 1.3 billion. What happens with that? Is that just going straight in the Glazers' pockets? I imagine so. So are you going to inject some of this out of your own wealth? Like, I don't know. It seems very messy and confusing with me. And this is why a lot of people were pushing for Qatar, because it's just 100% takeover. It's easy, it's clean, the debt's gone free, the Glazers are fucked off. Now it's like you're working with the Glazers, it's 25%. Do you actually get full control and decisions over, strong situations, or, what happens with the debt? Like, there's too many questions for me to be convinced that this is just so Jim Ratcliffe's going to come in and be fantastic. People forgetting, what's happened at Nice. He's not been fantastic there, and that's a much smaller club than Manchester United. So I definitely have concerns with these people coming in, although it is a change. So you're kind of looking at it and you're like, I don't know. I'm sure his intentions are great. He says he's a United fan, but tried buying Chelsea. I'm pretty sure he had a season ticket at Chelsea as well, which is a bit strange. I mean, they'll play their Failsworth card, so it's like, I don't know, man. I'm very, very confused as a Manchester United fan at the moment, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are. we don't know what to think. We're a little bit vulnerable at the minute. We're basically reflecting how we are in defence. We're open, we're vulnerable, we're emotional, and we don't know what's going to happen with the club. There's just bare confusion around a lot of situations, and yeah, it's a bit weird at the minute. Brian's in the chat. Big up to Brian. He's an absolute legend. Saying, afternoon, Nick. Hope you're well. Very tired today, as you could probably tell. At about 4 hours sleep, but we move. And really hope Ten Hag doesn't get sacked. He's not the problem, in my opinion. Can't do the same thing we've done with the last 6 managers over the past 10 years. Need to start at the top. Well, this is it, isn't it, Brian? It's the cycle. It's what happens. The first manager comes in, has a fantastic season, doesn't necessarily get back to the full extent in the second one. Things start to drop off. They get rid of him, chop and change, either bring in an interim manager to the end of the season and bring in a new one, or they just bring in a new manager. And then the same again happens. People will be buzzing for the first year saying, finally, we've got our guy. This is the one. And then same thing second year happens. So I don't think changing the manager is going to do anything at all right now. Who the fuck do you bring in? People talking about Zidane, and Zidane ain't going to do a job with his team of players. With all due respect to Zidane, I know he won, was it like 3 Champions Leagues in a row? Fantastic, amazing. He knows Real Madrid inside out. He had players, world-class players in every single position. He is not going to come into a toxic Manchester United where there is so much confusion at board level and amongst the Glazers and Sir Jim Ratcliffe and all these kind of guys without a sporting director at the moment come in and start pulling up. Maybe they'll have a bit of a manager bounce, but he ain't going to start winning Premier League titles and winning Champions Leagues with this squad. Not a chance. You've got the issue is with United for me. You've got a pack of players that are so mixed up. I said this on a clip the other day. That are so mixed up that you don't know if you can play possession-based football or direct football because there's just mixtures of everyone. Because you've had to throw them together because of injury situations. Like in the Newcastle game, we had Amrabat, Mount, and Hannibal who had never played together before. I mean, Anthony Martial is still at the club. I don't get how. I don't know how he's still here. It's crazy that he's been here for like 8 years or whatever it's been, and it's not been sold yet. Like, he should have been on a long, long time ago. You've got big money that's been spent on players that just aren't living up to the price tag. One that isn't even in the squad at the moment that's been put as an outcast. So, I don't know. I think we've said on this channel multiple times, it's going to get worse before it gets better, I think. But we also said a similar thing under Ragnick, and we also said a similar thing under Ole, and we also said a similar thing under Jose Mourinho. So, what do we do? What do we do? David Pearson says the players we can't have are even bigger disciplinary like Zidane. Our players need someone like Gokwan to be the manager. Yeah, they're pampered to fuck, aren't they? If we're being completely transparent, these players, I mean, they complain about everything left, right, set. Oh, we don't like what you're saying about Jadon, and we think you're treating him bad. We don't like that you tried selling Scott and Harry in the summer, even though they're not good enough and they never have been for the club. We don't like this new disciplined style that you do. I think we're being too harsh. We don't like training at night, and we're coming home when it's dark and stuff. Our tops are too tight. The socks are too tight. We don't like this. Like, give me a fucking break, mate. How about just win some games and play some nice football rather than just fucking complaining all the time about what's not going right for you? Like, they've done it under multiple managers. This is, behavior patterns that are consistent for me. So I ain't buying none of this crap from the players at all. Like, I'm not reading any of it and being like, yeah, to be honest, fair enough. Like, I don't care honestly, I don't give a shit if they think the training's too intense or whatever it is. To be fair, the money that you're on, like, you should be dedicated every single day. And you look at a player like Jadon Sancho, people will say he's human or whatever it is. Like, everyone's got entitled to their opinion. But this is a kid who's on 350 grand a week, came with a massive reputation, was bought for a lot of money. And he's just fucking sat there, like, don't care. Just, nah, not going to apologise. Don't give a shit. When we've probably, the window of opportunity came with everything that was going on with Anthony. Pulisic didn't really grab the opportunity. So that was Sancho's moment there to really grab it. And he sat there on clubs, I mean, I'm not got anything about clubs. I play clubs myself, but I'm not a professional footballer. He's had these issues, Sancho, at every single fucking club that he's been at. This isn't just a one-off thing. If you look at his history at Watford, there was coaches concerned with him that he wasn't, he'd only do it if there was certain If it wasn't fun, he didn't like it, and if it wasn't this, there was a lot of amendments to be made around his game. City, Pep got rid of him. Dortmund had issues with him turning up to training late, not sleeping properly, not eating properly, all these kind of stuff. And then it's happened at United as well. So obviously, this guy has an issue with these kind of things. He has an issue with discipline. Yeah, he wants to be this free player and this, but when the going gets tough, we don't need fucking bottle jobs in this team, mate. We need players who are going to stand up, take accountability, and show some quality. At Manchester United, this isn't fucking a joke club. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying Dortmund's a joke club, but the expectations there are massive, and you just haven't lived up to them at all for me. Charles Sampson in the chat, big up to you, you legend, saying give Ten Hag a new contract. I mean, I don't know if I'd do that right now. I mean, I don't know what they do. I don't think they're going to make any form of decision until Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos come in. That's when I think you'll see changes. That's when I think you'll see fucking Richard Arnold piss off. That's when I think you'll see John Murtagh go. And I think you'll see a lot of people start shifting backroom staff, which is needed. Because I don't think anyone has done their job properly for the past 3 months. Medical staff, nutritionists, people at board level, wherever you want to look at the club, it just seems to be chaos at the moment. No direction and chaos. And that is what happens when you don't have experts at a certain level doing a certain job. It looks like it does now, where the manager's having to kind of do it. The manager should just be focusing solely on sporting matters. I mean, like on the pitch, coaching. He should just be a coach. He should have an elite sporting director above him who he has to answer to, who's going to recruit players for a certain style that he wants. Erik Ten Hag, with all fairness, is getting players that he trusts or he's played against that he has actual knowledge about, rather than trusting these people up top who don't have a fucking clue what they're going on about, paying £80 million for Harry Maguire and these kind of things. Like, it's stupid. Really, really stupid. So Jim Ratcliffe's 1.3 billion deal for 25% of Manchester United, which is thought to be the first step of a structured buyout, is likely to be announced in the next 2 weeks, although that schedule is subject to change. I mentioned the 245 million that's supposed to be invested. I don't think that's going to touch the sides. I don't think there's any more quotes coming out from Thinger. Oh, on Fulham being a must-win game, he says, I never think of such scenarios. We have to win every game. We prepare very good, and I'm sure the players are ready tomorrow to execute the plan. But yeah, I've pretty much been for the majority of it. I mean, you always knew this press conference was going to be, a lot of it questions about dressing room and style of play and identity and these kind of things. But look, I mean, I suppose the only way you can kind of show what you're about is in the performance. And if we go to Craven Cottage tomorrow and we lose, I think that pendulum really starts swinging for Erik Ten Hag's head. I really, really do. I'm hoping we see a response. I'm really, really hoping we see a response tomorrow. Because look, I know we went out of the Carabao Cup. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but in terms of priority, that's probably bottom of the list, in it. If you start getting the points in the Premier League, I mean, maybe you can have some hope and ambition, but judging off the last 2 performances, conceding 6 goals and just looking raggedy all over the place, no one's in form. There isn't one player that's in form at the minute that you can look to and go to. At least last season, you knew Rashford would score in the majority of games. So you could have hung your hat on the fact that we're going to get a goal or we're going to get a couple of goals. And the defence will keep a clean sheet. They kept the most clean sheets last season in the Premier League. Now it's like, it doesn't matter who starts at the back. We're going to concede a shitload of goals. We can never get control in the midfield, despite who starts, regardless of whoever it is. If it's Mount, Bruno, Casemiro, Hannibal, Amrabat, whoever. It doesn't, no control whatsoever. I mean, there's been so many question marks about Bruno Fernandes playing on the right-hand side. I don't know why he consistently puts him there, because he's shit on that right-hand side. He cannot play well there. He can't beat a man. He's ineffective. Most of the majority of the time, he doesn't even stay on the right. He's chasing someone at left back. He doesn't have discipline in games. He's over emotional. He's petulant. And then you got a situation with the captaincy, like, you can't really take it off him, because then who the fuck do you give it to? And then you create a whole storm by doing that as well. So I don't know. I really would not like to be Erik Ten Hag in this situation. I think he's got way too many things to be dealing with, which are probably distracting from the coaching. And players don't look committed. In that Newcastle game, they just didn't look like they fancied running. Yeah, it's like I said, I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. But how do you lot feel? Talk to me in the chat. I'll read out some more. I'll stay live for a little bit longer because I'm happy to chat. But yeah, if anyone wants to know any significant quotes coming out from the press conference, just let us know. I have been through them. He spoke about character and individual personnel and dressing room spirit and blah blah blah. But I think we know the scenario going on. Brian Casey says Sancho, Antony, Ronaldo, Maguire, Garnacho, and Rashford all had disciplinary issues under Erik Ten Hag, yet he's the problem. Make it make sense. Exactly, Brian. Paulinho will bully this midfield without Casemiro. I'm not sold on Amrabat, you know. I actually did analysis on Amrabat. Watched him for Morocco in that 4-1-4-1 setup. Watched him in Fiorentina where they're a bit more expansive. And looked at him, I thought he could come in. I think him and Casemiro in the double pivot, you know, so much more control in that midfield, so much more defensive stability, but we're hardly yet to see it. You know, one comes on at halftime, one goes off. Like, it's really bizarre to me. Really, really bizarre. Mount doesn't work in the midfield. I like Mason Mount as a player. A lot of people don't. I can see what he offers, but you have to have a system. Every team has a player like Mason Mount in it where it may not be the most talented, but what you get off the ball, what he gives on the half turn, in quick moments, transitional moments, you know, even set pieces, he's good from set pieces, which he hasn't shown yet at Manchester United. He could be an important player, but this environment at the moment is just swallowing good players up. And Gary Neville said it, I think. Like, for example, I'm not comparing him to Park Ji-sung, but I'm just saying Park Ji-sung wasn't the most glittery players, but fucking hell was he important in big games. Very, very important. And I think Mason Mount can have a similar effect. I just don't know. It's a bit of a mindfuck at the moment where you play him. You know, do you play him in a 10 and then you push Bruno out onto the right? No one likes Bruno on the right. So then you move Bruno back central and then you put him as an 8. Doesn't really work as an 8 with Casemiro in there. So do you try him on the wings on the left-hand side? Well, Marcus is there and Garnacho's there. So it's very confusing. There's a lot of question marks as to why he pushed so much for Mason Mount for 60 million quid. And I don't know whether that'll be answered or not. I hope it does work out because I do like him as a player. But I'm not sure if it will. Pure entitled, spoilt kids earning insane amounts of money. Why can't we have a squad of players that would die on the pitch for the badge like we did under Sir Alex? I think people forget where this club came from. You know, you look at our history. It's almost like United players feel entitled at this point. I do think there's a spoilt nature to this squad. I think they think they're better than what they are. I think the reality is the team that you look at, even in the derby or against Newcastle, you know, the majority of them, 90% of them, 95% of them would not get in top squads around England, around Europe in general. I really, really don't think they would. I think a lot of them are Europa League fodder, to be honest with you. Shreyas is saying, what do you think saves Ten Hag's job, new ownership structure? I think he'll be given a chance if the new ownership structure comes in, definitely. I think he'll be given a period of time where they're assessing things. I think they said they were going to do a 100-day assessment, didn't they? I think they'll get rid of Murtagh and Arnold before they get rid of Ten Hag. I think that's for sure. And then once they get someone in, a sporting director, if it is Paul Mitchell, if Ten Hag's philosophy kind of aligns with him and they can work together, then perfect. But if Paul Mitchell wants a certain guy in, a certain philosophy, I don't know. It's like I said before, the main theme of this is that it's confusing, right? That's the issue with a lot of us. No one has a fucking clue. I reckon Mount was born to replace Sancho. Didn't Hag see this issue coming? I don't know. Mason Mount's a proper confusing one, man. I want to see him in the team in our proper starting 11 on a consistent basis. You know, with all players fit and available. Obviously, you don't always get that, but at least, you know, 9 of the 11 who we usually play with available and see him get a run and see what he does. Nothing could save him. His first 11 are often not strongest. Plays midfielders on the wingers as strikers and more. Very strange substitutions at odd times, like bringing on defenders when we're 1-0 with 5 to go. But that's a strange thing, isn't it, Gray? Because last season, his in-game management was fantastic. It was unbelievable. Like, he made decisions that affected the game instantly. He did it in the derby last season. Kyle Walker and De Bruyne on that right-hand side were overrunning us. They were just completely destroying that side, and he made a few tweaks, changed it up, and we won in the second half. And he did that in multiple games. He did it at Camp Nou. He did it loads of places. But this season, I don't know why he's making certain subs that he is. I can't answer that question Only Ten Hag can answer that question. And I don't know if it'll be the one that people want to hear or not. So I'm not entirely sure. He did, but he's gone mad now with odd strategies. I agree, Gray. I do. I agree with you 100%. The subs are mad. They are really, really strange. Like I said before, the Varane one, for Evans, the what was the other one? The Casemiro one for Eriksen. Taking Amrabat off in the Newcastle game. Was it Newcastle game or the City game? Yeah, City game, sorry. Bizarre. Strange. Very, very strange. But as a lot of people know, insider information, people who speak to, even people I've spoke to that we've had on the channel before, there is shit going on behind the closed doors that's like fireworks. It's ironic that it's nearly bonfire night because there is fireworks going off at the club. And I don't know if it's going to settle down anytime soon or not. Lindelof for Region. Lindelof's ill. Oh, you want about substitutions, maybe? I think you might mean. Apologies if you do. But yeah, even someone's just tweeted now saying Erik Ten Hag has made some bizarre in-game decisions this season, but he isn't the problem. Yeah, I don't know. Club is rotten from the top to the bottom. Yeah, it really, really is. It's sad times, isn't it, for United? When you look at all the other clubs around us currently and how well they're doing, you look at Newcastle under Mike Ashley, how depressing it was there for years and years and years and years. And as soon as you get this investment, albeit from Saudi, look at how well they're doing now. They just recently beat PSG at home in the Champions League, which is mega. They've just beat us 3-0 with a second string team. They've lost like 3 games this season, I think. They've scoring shitloads of goals. They've recruited well. They've got the right people up, like Dan Ashworth at the top as like the sporting director. They've done everything well and effectively, Newcastle. And you can only sit there and be jealous as a United fan because of the shit show that's still going on at our club and the toxic atmosphere and the infrastructure that needs putting in place. Even other teams, like people don't want to be state-owned. I understand it. But if you look at Newcastle, you look at City, you can't help but think, fucking hell, what could have been if we got Qatar? 100% sale, debt gone. It's crazy. Erik Ten Hag needs to prove Manchester United fans wrong before things get out of his hand. I agree with you, Neil. I agree with you 100%. Look, I don't know why people seem to think that I'm just blind, backing the manager blindly. I'm not. I know this routine. We've been here before. This is the same chapter that's written over and over and over again with Manchester United. We've been here so many times where maybe the manager should go. Maybe he should. Maybe, I don't know. But what I know is if we get rid of him, you bring in someone else, they'll just become the scapegoat in a year's time. So is it not better to try and build, or at least have a little bit of patience? Arteta finished like 8th, 5th, and then 3rd, or whatever it was. I think it was 2nd, challenging for a title. Managers make mistakes. Managers can fuck up. Players can fuck up. You need time. We live in an attention deficit world where everything wants things dead quick, like now. If it doesn't happen now, fucking get rid of another one. Let's try again. Please, can we please just have a bit of patience and intelligence and just stick with this manager for at least a few months to let him. I think he's got enough credit in the bank. For me, at least, I think he's got enough credit in the bank to try make this right, get a few players back. But again, Lissandro probably out until the new year. Casemiro's out until the new year. Shaw's not back yet. It's like we need another striker. You can't rely on Højlund, as talented as he is. He needs a seasoned, experienced striker alongside him. You can't expect the kid to come in and do it on his own. You really can't. And the attack needs to click. That's another big thing as well. Which won't happen since Glazers won't let go of easy money making machine. Well, we never spend in January anyway, to be honest. You can have Zidane, Pep, deserve it. Doesn't matter when will fans learn exactly. Thing is, Nick, he's done nothing but make mistakes this season. Everything he does is odd. But great, let me ask you a question. If you're at this club right now, and you had to deal with everything that's been ongoing, on and off the pitch, and the injuries that he's had, do you not think that's going to affect his performance? And the performances on the pitch, sorry. Like, I can't help but have sympathy for him. Yes, in-game decisions, I agree with you. Some weird decisions that he's made and some tactical decisions that he's made, but sometimes you have to try tweak something when nothing's working, you're like, right, let's just try put Eriksen there. I know it's a bit risky. Let's try putting Eriksen there. Let's do this. Like, you have to try shake something up to try get a reaction out of the players. A lot of people were asking for Bruno to be dropped, Rashford to be dropped, all these guys to be dropped, right? We did it against Newcastle when we got slapped 3-0 off the B team. So it's the players that are letting him down equally as well. I think, I don't know. My head's a bit messed at the minute with this United situation. Really, really is. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. We're going to be live tomorrow for the pre-match build-up and a review after the game against Fulham. 12:30 kickoff. I hate the early kickoff, especially when it's away from home. It's going to be a very, very tough game. But Fulham don't score a lot of goals, so if you take your chances, I believe we can win. But yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be very, very tough. So yeah, appreciate you all tuning in. Have a lovely weekend, everyone. I appreciate every single one of you who are constantly getting involved in the chat and coming and taking time out of your day to come and watch us and have a discussion. And yeah, we might see you later on tonight for a new show, but we'll definitely see you tomorrow for a pre-match build-up and a live review after the game. So yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.